Hey, we're Blood Comes Cleansing, and this is the KingdomCore podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the KingdomCore podcast. I'm Chris, and I got my friend Sean with me.
What's up, guys?
And we had a super sick interview.
Yeah, we did.
Great guys, awesome band, and I think it's one that you guys are really going to enjoy. Sean, who did we have on?
We had With Blood Comes Cleansing, Christian Deathcore legends. You almost call them kind of early forefathers of the Christian Deathcore movement, because they started before Doom, who you would call the fathers of Christian Deathcore. Honestly,
Yeah.
So
it was super cool to have these guys and kind of take a deep dive into their discography, kind of leading up to this interview.
Mm-hmm.
And
for those who don't know, they're back together. So
yeah,
that's why we had them on. This wasn't a legacy interview. So
first single in over 15 years.
15 years, yeah. They're gonna play Furnace Fest.
Yeah. Oh man,
it's some other shows. So yeah, the conversation was really cool. Talked a lot about also their faith and how they've all remained believers this long, and that the reason they reunited was for the gospel and that alone. So yeah, just a really fun conversation. I think it might be the first interview they've done since they got back together. So we're really honored that they gave us their time and decided to use a full band practice to talk with us. But before we get going,
we got an
We got an interview. Yeah. No, we have a review. For those who haven't listened in a while, Chris started a new tradition of reading a review of our podcast from our Apple Music listeners or Apple Podcasts listeners. So if you want to help us out and then also maybe hear a review that you read on air, go over to the Apple Podcast app and give us a 5-star review and then write a review, and maybe we'll read it in an upcoming episode.
Just like Jake Haver.
Jake Haver, the Christian metal podcast. If you're looking for Christian rock and metal bands, this is the podcast for you. They bring on bands and band members. They discuss their stories on how they became a band, where the band is going, their faith in Jesus, how they incorporate that into their music, what the music means to them, and what they want the listeners to take away from the music. Truly a great podcast. The hosts are great. They ask good questions and let the guests speak fully on the question and don't interject. Thank you, Jake. I think that is his description of our format was pretty much word for word what we did with Blood Comes Cleansing.
Pretty much.
We discussed stories on how they became a band, where the band is going, their faith in Jesus, how they incorporate that in their music, and what the music means to them. So there you go, Jake. Thank you.
So stay tuned, and this is With Blood Comes Cleansing.
Scott, I like your wallpaper.
Thank you. It's cranes.
Cranes.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's kind of like mine. It's the old grandma.
Yeah, there you go. Is that exposed brick?
It's a chimney for an old furnace that was in this house.
That's
It was
cool.
built in the 40s. So
That's a great segue into Furnace Fest.
yeah.
I'd love to hear about how that came to be. Was Furnace Fest the thing that got you guys back together, or was it a conversation before that? I'd love to hear that story.
I guess they reached out
so
to you, right?
Yeah, so I wound up actually I'm trying to think of how it started. Crane said something about
It started
playing
with you saying years ago that you wanted us all to do it.
Yeah, whenever we put out the vinyl, I was like, we should do a reunion. And whenever they started doing Furnace Fest, I was like, man, we should play Furnace Fest. And it just never came to fruition. And then I told Crane, I was like, well, I know Chad. So I was like, let me reach out to him and just see what the deal is or whatever. So I started talking to Chad, and he was like, dude, I love this idea. And I was like, then let's do it. So yeah, that night they sent us a deal, and we were like, let's go. So
that's dope.
Kind of,
There's a lot of bands from your guys' era reuniting right
I
now.
know. We got Underneath the Gun now.
So do you guys have any friends in those bands that are reuniting right now? Like it seems like a bunch of bands from the same era, like the late 2000s.
There's some guys here and there.
And Knights of the Abyss just do something. We toured with them once.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I didn't know Underneath the Gun.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think we did tour Knights of the Abyss for a bit. Them and Elysia, and it was like Whitechapel.
Arsonist Get All the Girls.
Oh, you guys toured with
Arsonist Get All the-
Whitechapel back in the day?
Yeah,
We took them on their first US tour.
No way. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Us and them and Years Spent Cold. We did like an Eastern Seaboard deal. And then we all split up when we got up into New England. And they went with, who they go with? Red Chord and somebody else. And we went back west with Elysia, Knights of the Abyss, and Arsonists Get All the Girls.
yeah.
Oh,
It was a
nice.
fun summer. It was cool.
That's cool.
Cool couple of tours.
So you guys are all original members from the Golgotha era?
No.
Myself.
Let's do introductions. I think that would be good for listening.
Right? Like,
Yeah, this band's
Scott and I are probably the closest to like original members. Then Michael joined us and recorded
Okay.
Golgotha with us. So as far as Golgotha is concerned, me, Scott, and Michael
Yeah.
are original members. But
then look at these
Michael
sexy
kind of
guys
came
we
in
brought
later.
in.
So you guys are new to the band?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very
New
cool.
to playing in the band. Known those guys forever. Yeah, so
Forever.
from the same
Way
hometown. So for them to tell it, I was their biggest fan. So it kind of works out good.
Yeah, it was a mercy hire. So yeah.
We're like, dude, isn't a bass player? You don't have to actually do anything. Just come hang out. We'll run a track. It's fun.
How good can you fake the bass, you know?
Looks scary on stage, man. That's all we want.
And then Zach, he was probably the only one that was not one of our close friends for many, many years. But we played in with his band, his old band called Long Street, a long time ago, several times here in the Atlanta area. And one of our mutual friends kind of suggested him to me, and yeah, we tried him out, and it worked out.
Nice. And then you guys got back together and you cranked out a sick new single. Is that just a sign of things to come, or is that just kind of a one-off in preps for Furnace Fest?
Well, it's definitely not a one-off because there is another one.
Okay.
Ooh, heck yeah.
We have
sick.
recorded one more song as well. So
That's awesome.
hopefully we will try to release that one too before we start playing, just to build some hype on some new stuff that we're doing.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
What was it like getting back into the studio after 15 years, and then for you, Michael, like 17 years, right?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. No, it was awesome. When you have that creative side like inside of you and you sit on it for too long, you're like itching to get back to writing and doing that kind of thing. So like we've toyed around with, we've been on a text thread for years, with the band guys and just like joking around and whatnot. We always have thrown out the idea, oh, we should play again or whatever. So like when this Furnace Fest kind of, geared it up, and then it was like, oh shoot, and like we should do this again, like just like music and yeah.
Because of releasing Golgotha on vinyl, and that kind of sparked everything off with Michael coming back and that era of our band. We kind of decided that most of our set will be geared toward Golgotha and just kind of playing Golgotha. And then we figured, well, Golgotha's really short. It's like 23 minutes. So if somebody asked us to play even like a 30-minute set, we couldn't. So we had a couple more songs.
Some people said they liked that part about it. They were like, oh, it's just enough. You're not annoyed with it.
Yeah,
I like that.
We wanted to write a couple more songs just to show that, hey, look, we are still interested in playing some more. And, hopefully, this year we have a few things planned, and we'll continue as long as God wants us to, I guess. Yeah. And we'll have us keep going, So
that's awesome. Was it, after such a long break, was it hard to get into that groove again to play this type of music? Like, have you guys actively listened to all the heavy stuff over the years, or was this a process to get into?
We had to remember the songs or relearn them. Almost everything. And that was a struggle at the beginning, trying to get back to whatever tuning we recorded Golgotha in.
You couldn't even remember what we tuned in, Scott.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that took me a
Minor
long
detail
time.
there.
Yeah. And it was like I had a song that I swore it started on the 5th fret, and I tuned my guitar to play along with it on the 5th fret and couldn't make any dang sense out of it. That was the funnest. I mean, we all laughed a lot about it. Crane had awesome notes that he took. His little music stand sheet he had that he flipped through as we were rehearsing. That,
I mean, I was literally doing tabs for us, so like.
That's fun.
And Michael, for you, what was it like doing growl vocals and screaming again? Like, did you keep up with that, or did you have to rebuild that?
And every once in a while, like I've always checked just to see if I still have it. So I've never just like completely let it go. When you're in your car or something, you just throw it out there and be like, okay, I still got it. So.
Do you scream along like in the car to old With Blood Comes Cleansing music, or with like other music?
No, not just with blood, just other music. No.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even like to hear myself. It's weird. You know, like oh, that's.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
I know
with vocalists.
So that's whatever. But yeah, no, getting back to studio writing again has been a blast, man. So
that's
hopefully
awesome.
It's received well. I mean, I feel like people are liking it. I'm sure we'll have a few critics out there, but it's been fun.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, I took a listen to all of it this morning again, and actually I did a reaction to the new song. I just noticed it felt like a really good continuation. Like obviously I know Horror was a bit different than Golgotha, but like it sounds new and it sounds refreshing, but it also sounds like a throwback. So it fits in well with what you guys had done prior.
I'd agree with that because before this I was at the gym and I threw Golgotha on, and then I had Pericardial Effusion like in the queue next after that, and I didn't even know when Golgotha ended and when the new song began, because it had that rawness and it had the same sound, and I love that. It really is a continuation.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's cool. I think
feel
that's
like
what we're going for.
We kept, we wanted to keep in the same thread because we struggled with this when we first sat down to write Horror. That I think Carnivorous Consumption was the first track we wrote on that. And we were like, oh, we want to be death metal. We want to get away from this. We wanted to have all these new elements in the song, and we wrote this song. And I remember finishing it and like finalizing it, saying we like that. And someone goes, let's just play Golgotha. And so we played Golgotha. And we all kind of laughed at it because we were like, Golgotha was way, way heavier. And so that was kind of the one track on the record that was like, let's try to do something different. And then it's like, no, this is our lane. We write this way. This is how we think of music. And so I felt Horror was in the same thread of that. And then even writing these new tracks, it felt like what I would have written if we wrote an album in 2010.
That's really cool. And how long were you guys like sitting on these riffs for this song? Or were you guys just like, okay, we're going to write a new song. Here's something.
The new song, the second song we've got, the opening riff, I wrote it.
Yes, dog.
12 years ago, 13 years ago.
Wow.
We used it like opening shows and stuff like that. It was just a cool heavy breakdown. And we never had put it in a song. We weren't writing anything at the time, so it was just something I'd come up with. And
we used it as an intro a long, long time ago. Like if you find some YouTube videos of us playing, we opened our set with it, kind of like after it stopped touring, came back and did some Scream the Prayers.
The comeback shows.
Yeah, and we used that to open our set for a few different shows. It's a riff that's I guess no one's really heard yet. But as far as Pericardial Effusion, those riffs we wrote just recently, right? Like so, yeah. I mean,
it's all new.
It's all brand new within the past probably 4 months.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I have to ask because I thought this was really funny. Somebody commented on our dual post about the new song asking if, based off the name, if any of you guys became cardiologists at all after you quit the band.
No.
Nothing.
I think that's a nice segue. Do you guys want to talk about what the new song is about? Like,
I can tell you
lyrically and
pericardial effusion is what they said happened when they would hang you on a cross. You could not get breath, so your lungs would fill up with fluid. So to get breath, they would have to push themselves up off with their legs to try to get that. So I kind of took the concept, like you said, we wanted to flow from, for me, Golgotha into a new song. I wanted to kind of still stay in that vein of that album and be able to kind of flow straight from that into something, maybe not a full concept of that, but like something that kind of went to that. So I wrote it from the eyes of the guys that were hanging on the cross next to Jesus. So I had that conversation in that last moment that they had before. And so that's where it came from.
That's so cool.
Wow,
so you've got like one verse that's like from the guy mocking him, and then the other is the guy that turns in his last moments.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Dismount, penitent thief, and that moment, that conversation. So I thought it was cool. Yeah, Golgotha kind of set in that same setting, so we wanted to come from that. And
that's cool.
Sweet. Scott, you look good down there, man.
Yeah. I think my wife just took my son up to bed. I'd bring him and the other ginger here, so I'll get a little some more red hair. So.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, for those listening who maybe like you guys are a new band to them because they were much younger or way too young back in 2006 to know Golgotha, I'd love to hear, myself included, by the way. I would love to hear just the history of the band, like how you guys got together in 2006, and just almost like a hindsight reflection of the history of the band and why you guys disbanded and all of that.
Sure. I mean, so I guess if you started, like I joined a band called Betrayed with a Kiss a long time ago. That was probably 2005 or so, 2004, 2005, sometime around there.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, we had a cease and desist from a band that was kind of, I think it was like Illinois or something like that. They said, hey, that's our name. You can't use that name. You got to change your name.
Oh,
so
wow.
me and those guys was kind of like, okay, well, what do we change it to? And then one of my friends, a guy named Josh Lafayette, he came up with the name With Blood Comes Cleansing. He was like, well, I was going to name my band that, and that band's not going to happen, so you can have it if you want. I was like, dude, I love it. Let me run it by the guys. And they loved it, so that kind of happened. And then we did a couple of tours under Betrayed with a Kiss, maybe like one or two. And then as With Blood Comes Cleansing, we kicked off, and then right after one of our first tours is With Blood Comes Cleansing, our drummer decided that he was leaving. And at that point, we got in Scott's younger brother, Spence. Okay. Whenever he joined the band, before we even got our first show, I think our other guitarist decided he was leaving, and then Spence was like, hey, my brother Scott can play, and that got Scott in the band. That was probably, what year was that, Scott? 2005?
Yeah, it was summer 2005.
Yeah, 2005. Shortly after that, then let's see here, Dean Atkinson was our vocalist at that time. So you could say he was probably like the original vocalist for With Blood Comes Cleansing. He had some stuff going on and had to leave the band. And then Michael and I are childhood friends. We went to school together.
Yeah, I've been friends since we were like 6, 7.
Yeah, for like over 30 years. Gosh, I guess now. So you could tell them what you were doing at the time. I know you were like in another band.
Yeah, I was in several other bands. Well, Jeremy and I were in a band before all this when we were young called Ascension and Escape. Yeah. And then I moved to Tallahassee, Florida, and joined a band called Amber Callous. After being in Remove the Veil, which wound up signing to Face Down.
Oh, you were in Remove the Veil?
I was in there. Actually, I helped start Remove the Veil. So Cliff and I were childhood friends as well.
Yeah, we all grew up
together.
So
we're
and
all
Chris
friends.
from Chasing Victory.
And Chasing Victory, they're our buddies too. We all like.
Oh,
Chris,
no kidding.
Yeah. We all grew up in this town together. We all been friends since we were kids. Like we just all grew up around each other. So we were all in a band together, and then we all went into other bands. So I was in Remove the Veil, then went to Amber Callous, and then
I literally just listened to your album like last week in the car.
That's so sick.
And, when Dean had some issues, I asked Michael to do vocals for us, and that's right when Blood and Ink found us on MySpace and signed us. And then so he got in right when we did Golgotha.
That's when we went and did the Dern EP.
Yep.
So we did that.
Wow.
And then
and then we've had several members since then. I won't get all into it, but several different bass players, several different drummers. Michael left and Dean came back. And then Dean left, and now Michael's come back. So Michael's our fourth vocalist, but we've only had 2 vocalists.
Trade off.
Yeah, that probably doesn't happen too often.
That's the thing with being friends. You're just always connected. So it's like, oh.
No. Then in 2008, we released Horror. I think in 2007 we signed to Victory, and that was in large part due to our friends in A Day to Remember. They played our music for some folks at Victory, and their AR guy reached out to us, and we went and played for them. They signed us.
No kidding.
We released Horror, recorded Horror, I think in 2007, the end of it, and then released it in January of 2008. And then, in July 2008, we decided that we were no longer going to be a band, and stopped touring.
What was that? What brought you guys to that decision?
Tired, I think.
Yeah.
Getting older.
One or two of the guys was leaving after that tour.
Okay.
And
so just felt
we
like
were
time.
tired. Yeah,
Gotcha.
It was like, I was right at just turned 21 at the time, so still super young. But it'd been 3 hard years of touring nonstop and playing nonstop. So, but we're kind of like, let's move on to the next thing,
And then, so you guys said you kind of had a text group going over the years, but like what brought back this comeback officially? Was it just being asked about Furnace Fest?
I think the vinyl really kind of stirred the mentality.
Oh yes.
So when those guys
that was
out
crazy, by the way.
Honestly, when the guys told me, I was thinking it had been so many years. I was like, these poor guys are about to lose their money.
But no, it's sold out in like a minute 40.
We're cool because we're going to get a copy out of it, for ourselves. So it's a nice little collection, So when they did it and it sold out, I was like, he called me and I was like, there's no way. Sure enough, it sold out in like a minute 40 seconds.
Yeah. So I think that's what started the group chat, right? Yeah. The group chat was like, hey, these guys reached out to me and want to release Golgotha. So we started a group chat with everyone on Golgotha to say, hey, is everyone okay with doing this? Yeah. And that kind of started, and that kind of started the conversations. And like I said, Crane has been just around us forever. So he was involved, and Crane and Scott and I kind of messed around and jammed a bit together with maybe something different before COVID. It ended up not happening. So he was kind of been around for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's like kind of like maybe a member of something that Scott and I was going to do, so.
But now he's just in with Blood Comes Coming.
Now he's just in with Blood.
He's felt like he's been in it the whole time anyway. He's been around forever.
Like I said, I'm their biggest fan, so Jeremy would say I'd come to stand in the front and cheer for him and clap my hands. I had him sign my shirt after every show. He has his own story about it, but the bad part about it is kind of after with Blood transition, I was playing in another band. So a lot of the gear that they were using and the big heavy road cases ended up in my possession. So then I took the reins and started traveling and with the big cases. And funny enough, I never got rid of them. So the big cases are coming back out of retirement. So it's kind of special.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's cool.
And I hope there's some good footage of you guys playing at Furnace Fest. I'm sure there will be. But
hopefully I'll be there.
There's no way I can get there, so I'm like, that's the way I live through this scene. It's just videos.
It's about 50-50 for me right now. So, but I would love to go.
We're excited. We're playing in Savannah, Georgia, at something called Aura Fest with Body Snatcher and Bury Your Dead.
Oh, nice.
On June 10th.
Okay.
So that will be our first show back.
Got it. Are you guys going to have pre-show jitters for the first time in 15 years?
I already do.
Yeah.
We have practice jitters.
Right.
Yeah, what was that? What was it like the first practice back? I'm sure that must have been almost a little awkward, right?
I think the first practice was Crane and I, sitting in the spare bedroom in my apartment, trying to learn the songs. Me trying to relearn them, him trying to learn them for the first time.
And I looked at him and I was like, dude, your own song, it's on this fret. You play it here. And he's like, dude, I don't think that's right. I'm like, it's right, man.
I trust it.
Was there any issues? Like I hear a lot from bands that used to play like fast music. They're just like, why did we like do this so fast? Is it hard to match that again?
Well, our record was always faster, right?
Yeah, we slowed everything down live.
Oh, okay.
And we really had a good time with that. So and going back and listening to Golgotha and trying to relearn it, like it's just ridiculous the tempos of everything in those songs, especially all the slow parts because we play them so slow live, and that's just what I remembered of everything. And so going back and listening to the record was really strange. It was just kind of like, man. It's just 30 BPM faster than what we did live. And
hey, so you slow it down, and now you have your 30-minute set that you need.
Yeah, there you go. Problem solved.
Yeah, we're talking between songs and everything. It's still not 30 minutes. We can't get it.
Oh, that's good.
But I think we just wrote our longest song. I think, heck, on Spotify, isn't it like 3.5 minutes? I think.
Yeah, 3:35. I thought when I was listening to it this morning for the first time, I thought it was around that 2 minute 40 seconds ish. I thought it was going to end, and then I was like, "Oh wait, no, there's still like another minute here."
Yeah, 2:40 is about all we used to be good for. So.
Yeah.
Was it hard finding that extra 50 seconds?
Yeah. Play it again slower.
Yeah.
Play it again slower.
What were you going to say, Chris?
I was just going to ask, like, being a graphic nerd.
Ooh, yeah.
Tell us about the new logo. Like, what came about with that? It's a totally different style from what you guys used to have.
Yeah. I commissioned an artist that I could not even tell you their name. Like, it was a random person that I found in, like, some Facebook group. How long? 2 years? Around COVID time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's been a few years at least.
It was around COVID time. Whenever I found someone, they did some cool looking art, and I was like, hey, will you do my band a logo? And they did it, and I just fell in love with it. I think it looks really good.
You can actually read it.
So I was like, yeah, that's cool. And I thought that, for me, like, I know it's about nostalgia for a lot of folks, and I think it's like that for us too. But also we want to write some new music. We want to do something new. So I thought it would be cool to have something new, just something different.
Something fresh.
Right. Not saying we won't ever use the old one again on merch or something like that, but I thought it'd be cool just to do something new, something fresh. And yeah, it was, I believe it was a girl from the UK, to be honest with you. And I cannot remember for the life of me her artist name. So.
If she's listening right now, you just DM us.
You are.
Now, like 10 artists are going to try to take credit for it.
Yeah, it's a sick logo.
Really clean. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love black metal, and I feel like it looked a little black metalish to me, and that's something I've always been really into. So I love that aesthetic.
Sweet,
that's awesome. So I would love to talk about something that the Christian scene has almost come to expect from bands who come back together is that either the band no longer wants to associate with faith, or that none of the members even have faith anymore. I'd love to just get into your guys' personal faith and talk a little bit about how you guys have stayed on the narrow all these years and how you guys still want to use this as a ministry tool, because I think that's something that's sadly very rare today in the scene. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that and what influence it still has on your guys' music.
So I noticed that too, right? And I think that was a big driving force, at least for me personally. Mm-hmm. I feel like when With Blood Comes Cleansing first came on the scene, there wasn't very many Christian bands playing this style of music, this genre. I think the genre itself was in its infancy. There wasn't too much going on with it, just in general, especially bands that were Christian. I feel like we have kind of come, a full kind of 360 degrees back to that. we're back to a place to where this genre now is taking off. I mean, it's so good. There's so many great bands that are out there now playing this style of music, but I would be hard pressed to name very many Christian ones, you know, that are playing this style of music. And yes, a lot of bands did come back and don't want to associate with their faith anymore, or you know, have lost it or whatever, or maybe outgrown it or something like that. Right. But I think for all of us, it's very it means everything to us. You know what I mean? Like I think that's one of the whole reasons why we decided to come back and keep doing this and push it, is to bring this message that we have again to, you know, to people who may not get a chance to hear it. You know, that's what it's been about since we started. It's what we're still about. It hasn't changed at all. Not even a little.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I think something that I want to speak on that's kind of special to me, especially growing up around these guys. So I did a lot of the night driving. Scott did a lot of the night driving. We had a lot of 3 a.m. phone calls here and there talking about life. And even with me and Jeremy living very close to each other, there's been many times we hang out throughout the years and we talk about different things in life, and we talk about faith and what does it look like and how do we as Christians navigate through that, especially even Sasser with us keeping in touch through like Instagram throughout the years and stuff. And I think something that's special to me is one of the biggest things that I do remember about with Blood, besides being this super awesome heavy band, was I remember seeing the band itself and all the members in the band taking time to relate to people at shows and talk about faith and really put it out there. With Blood was that band that always had time for people. So that's like really special to me. And that's one of the big things that I remember. Besides the music, it was the time and how they cared about people that were around them. So that's like really special to me. So
that's so cool. Yeah, it's always a big game changer, especially for younger people when they're going to live shows, when bands take the time to actually interact with them, especially on a deeper personal level when it comes to stuff like faith. So
100%.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear.
I mean,
the opportunity for that was always there, you know. I mean, and everybody probably feel the same way that and y'all probably do the same way, that the scene was full of kids that just weren't wanted at church. You know, right. They weren't given an opportunity. Really, maybe they heard the gospel when they were younger, but even then, like, I mean, we toured with a band. I can't remember their name. They're from Philadelphia. Maybe Jeremy remembers them. But I remember standing outside a show in Jersey with one of those guys, and the dude just saying, "Yeah, I don't even know who Jesus is." And like, we're all raised in the Bible Belt. We're raised in the South. Like, everybody knows who Jesus is and knows at least a half a dozen Bible stories, you know. So, you know, I think we got to really see the need out there to reach some kids that weren't going to hear the gospel any other way. And if this was the way to get them in, was through music, then, you know, it was an awesome avenue that God allowed us to be a part of. So I think that conviction has stayed all these years. And I've even seen it morph into other things that maybe I didn't understand, because my family and my parents accepted this really, really well. Because Spence was 16 when he started playing with the guys. Wow. I was 18, just turned 18. We were young. I mean, getting in a van with a bunch of people and just driving around the country. And they
kids only.
I mean, they saw the need just like we did.
Pre-GPS, right? We have like a freaking atlas.
Printed MapQuest directions.
Yeah, we got.
You guys are stopping at Staples to print out the MapQuest every day.
Yeah. We had to play like 100 shows to save enough money to buy a TomTom, you know? Like, this is ridiculous.
Oldest, we felt like we were a dad at the moment, because we're like, we're about to take this kid out. His parents are trusting us. Like, what is it?
Quick story about this before we get back. We broke down one time in South Dakota and had to walk to this bar. It was the closest thing, only thing in there. I mean, it is snowing. I mean, freezing cold outside, like below zero. We get to this bar and they wouldn't let Spence in because he was too young. So he area until the rain came and got us. It was a mess.
South Dakota, Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Was there any particular standout moments that you guys can remember on, like, with interacting with fans at shows? Like anything that was like a super special, like just a cool moment that stands out to you?
I mean, personally, like I was just always just taken aback and surprised that our band meant something to people, so much to people. That was always just really strange to me because here we are, we're young dudes just kind of in this van, kind of doing what we're doing, and just kind of getting sucked into the daily life of it. And then somebody will stop you and say, hey man, you guys really helped me in this time in my life where I was going through, this, that, or the other. And, for me, that was just, it was shocking. And I still get it on Facebook sometimes and things like that, where people will tell me stories about what the band meant to them. And it's just such a blessing. You know what I mean? Talking about having a bad day, and that makes things much better. You know what I mean? To hear that, you can be part of something that God used in someone else's life. I mean, heck, if it was just one person, I mean, that's what it was all about, Right. So I remember I gave a guy a Capri Sun behind a venue one day because I had an extra one, and we just sat and talked, and he thanked me for sitting and talking to him. I'm like, what are you thanking me for sitting and talking to you for? Like, that's weird. Don't do that. Of course I'll sit and talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. To me, it was just, I don't know, just our interaction that the band meant so much to people was
That's
really
so cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
We've gotten I get that too. It's crazy. Like for several years, even for the last 15 years, people either write two messages. One, either that we helped them hit their PR for the day, or two, they're in their life with blood kind of intersected in a moment for them, and it helped change, and set them on a different path. Or even if they didn't, like they just respected that we were willing to share what we believe without any condemnation, or just to have an open conversation with them. So whether we believe the same at the end of that or not, or whether they decided to, take our view on our faith or anything like that, but at least they were like, either way, you guys are really cool about just having that conversation and leaving it open and being honest. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
That is cool. Switching gears a little bit, you guys said something maybe about 10 minutes ago that we kind of glossed over that I want to hear about. You guys are friends with The Day to Remember?
Yeah, we were a long time ago.
Okay, like, I'd love to hear about that.
Not that something bad happened or nothing like that.
Right,
it's just
right.
We grew out of it, right? Like, them being from Ocala, Florida, we played a lot together, when they were coming up and we were coming up because it was around the same time. And we just lost touch. That's all it was.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah, they really blew up.
Right, right. So I'm assuming you guys were friends around the with Those Who Have Heart era.
Yeah, when that album came out, we played a couple dates with them, and like a Sector 7G in Augusta or something like that.
That's really cool.
But it was like, it's neat. Like I mentioned earlier, Whitechapel. Like we booked and took them on the first U.S. tour. When we would play Houston and East Texas, we'd have a Pawn and Burning Body who was a local band.
No way.
We always got those guys. Like I knew promoters. I was like, get them to come. There's another band there. I can't remember the name. Like we'd always like have them come play because we just loved the guys that were fun. It was cool shows. They had a cool draw. So like, it's funny looking back at some of those bands that I remember, or even For Today before Maddie joined For Today.
Really?
Like playing with them at Vino's Pizza in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's us and them, and there's 70 people there.
I love
it. Carnifex. How much did we tour with Carnifex?
Yeah,
no way.
Carnifex.
Like crazy, like we would, they would draw huge on the West Coast. We would draw some on the East, and we'd kind of flip-flop headlining, around the country. We played with them a lot coming up, and they were great friends of ours. And I always say were because I just haven't talked to them in years and years and years. And I would feel weird now, like, hey man, remember me?
Yeah, but the coasts were split real big. I mean, I don't know if it's like it. The scene's like that anymore. I feel like it's just a million people at every show I go to now. But like West Coast bands, like kind of hung out in the West Coast. They didn't make it over here.
Right.
And same with the East Coast. So like when we did the first Scream the Prayer tour, like we changed up who was headlining, who was playing late based on where we were in the country because Sleeping Giant had never been to the East Coast except for Face Down East Coast Fest. Impending Doom had never been over here. All these other bands had just never been on this side of the country. So did y'all do Tommy from Sleeping Giant here recently?
Yeah,
I think
we had the Holy
that.
Name episode. That actually became our most listened to episode within like a month and a half. It was crazy. Yeah.
Tommy is just one of the neatest people I've ever met.
I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, you guys will get to meet up at Furnace Fest.
Yeah.
Holy Name Flame Live. That'll be sick.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you a really cool story about.
Go for it.
We did the Scream the Prayer with those guys, and I don't think we had played anywhere with them before. I think that was just the start of that relationship. And those guys are just so kind and loving. And I had a wore out pair of low top Chuck Taylors that I wore that were red. That they were rough. Everything I wore was rough. Just feet in. And I think we were playing somewhere in Louisiana, maybe Baton Rouge, something like that. I feel like we were Texas, Louisiana, somewhere like that. And me and Tommy and a few other guys in the band all went to a mall to eat food, and we were just shopping around. And we went into like a Foot Locker or something like that. And I was hanging out with it was me and Tommy, and I can't remember who was playing drums for him at the time. But anyhow, we're just sitting there looking at shoes, and Tommy's like, "What kind of shoes you like?" And I was like, he was telling me what he liked and what I liked. And I had pointed out some Nike Cortez. I was like, "That's the shoe. I like that shoe. It's pretty cool." And those guys bought me a pair of Chuck Taylors and a pair of Nike Cortez and gave it to me when we got back to the show. And I kept those shoes for probably 10 years. They were falling apart, but probably one of the nicest things anybody ever done for me.
Still has of each.
But I'll never forget those guys for it. That was something really special.
That's
cool. It meant a
cool.
lot to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
Especially for a touring band to buy a different band member's shoes. Like, that's a
Right,
lot of money on tour.
Yeah.
That's really
They were some gracious dudes.
Yeah. Speaking of Scream the Prayer, would you guys be able to try to bring that back? Because I want to go to one of those. Because I see those tour lineup posters, and I'm like, if this happened today, this would easily sell out a 2,000, 3,000 cap room. Easy.
I wonder how many of these bands are still Christian bands.
I know, right? No, I meant like you guys could do a modern version.
We played a couple dates on it in 2011, but when was the last Scream the Prayer? When did they?
I think it was
I think
2013.
they only did 3 years.
I think 2013. I remember purchasing a ticket to live stream it online and watch it from my room, but I was like, it wasn't very good quality. Like it was somebody who just set up a camcorder in the back of the venue and. But
it's just a cell phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Cornerstone, right?
Yeah, Cornerstone.
Yeah, Cornerstone back would be sick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Is there any of those bands, or I guess any new bands in particular that you guys listen to that you would be like you guys are a fan of nowadays in the Christian scene?
In the Christian scene.
In the Christian scene, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk scene in general. What do you guys listen to?
For Holy Name. I don't love all their stuff, but
if anybody wants to help me, I talked to Chase and the guys at 7 Star. I tried to get them to come play a show with us, but
That would be so
want them back
cool.
so bad.
That would be one of the best
Donnie
Christian
lives in my
hardcore
area,
bands
so-
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chase was like, I don't know, we're done. I'm like, no.
Oh man,
they need to make a comeback.
that would be
I
really
know.
cool.
Brood of Vipers, like, just let's go.
Oh
Repeat.
man, that
Yeah.
album. That'd be so cool.
Wallet. Let's go.
But yeah, to Chris's point, I'd love to hear like what are you guys inspired by? Are you guys drawing influence on the new music that you guys are writing? Or are you guys drawing influence from any modern bands?
Sure.
Always and forever, Dying Fetus.
Dying Fetus.
Always and
Okay.
forever, Dying
Probably my favorite death metal band ever, right? Yeah, I mean, I've seen them more times than I could count. I think their influence on Scott and I both, our writing style. But they're old, an older band, but more modern bands. I mean, I love Body Snatcher. I think they're great. Organectomy is another band that I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
Kubla Khan.
Ingested.
I'm a big fan of
Kubla
Kubla
Khan.
Khan is
Ingested.
great.
Yeah.
Did you say Ingested?
Yeah, Ingested.
That new
Yeah.
Ingested record was really good.
It was. Yes, it is good. It's very good.
I think we're lucky enough that we live pretty close to where the shows happen in Atlanta too. So we find time we get to go together and spend that time. I mean, going to Black Dahlia and all the different Body Snatcher shows.
So, Black Dahlia was a big influence.
The Black Dahlia murder's been influence on With Blood since we started. Them and Dying Fetus, Application, and Hatebreed. Hatebreed's one of my all-time favorite bands. I love that kind of hardcore. Hatebreed, Throwdown, Seventh Star, all the old Christian hardcore bands like In Due Time, A Love for Enemies, Bloody Sunday, all the ones that were on Face Down Records. All those,
Honestly, I'm surprised you guys weren't a Face Down band, to be completely honest. I feel like you guys would have really fit in.
We never had talked to anybody up there. We knew a bunch of bands, I guess, through them, but somehow never even approached or talked to anybody up there. We had David Quiggle did artwork for horror, but
did he? That was Quiggle?
That was Quiggle,
it doesn't look anything like his stuff.
I didn't know that.
Somehow Quiggle.
That's cool.
Is being on a label something that you guys would be open to nowadays, or are you down for the solo independent?
We already got a manager.
It's such a different world.
It is. Yeah,
it is. All of this is so bizarre. It was MySpace and Pure Volume 15 years ago. That's how you shared everything. You couldn't get Facebook unless you had a edu address. So I don't think Instagram was around. Spotify wasn't. So this has been, it's been funny, looking around and thinking, I don't know how to even be in the scene anymore. As far as the working gears. So, but what we went through to record those 2 songs versus what we did with Zeus in over 3 weeks up in Massachusetts when we recorded Horror, totally different things, and
it's crazy how well, I believe that Pericardial Infusion came out and how much effort that we put into it, right? It sounds so good to me for such little effort. Everything sounds so good now with DI guitars and plugins and not having to worry about mic and cabs in the room and all this kind of stuff. It was just so much easier and took so much, less time.
You guys were sharing music with me. You think when we did Golgotha, I think we had 2 songs when we went into the studio, and I literally was like,
microcassette recorders.
Lyrics now. I was like, what is going to happen? I have no lyrics. What is going on? We're supposed to record it, and I think we had a week to get that done. The label's like, you have 1 week. We're like, oh, okay.
And Sidekicks didn't have voice recorders, so.
But Daniel and Adam and Joseph, all those guys who helped us record and the mixing and mastering. So they were all so easy and great to work with, and just it was a very fluid motion. So we couldn't ask for an easier process, and been happier with the results. Everybody who played a part in the recording, mix and master, like I said, they really just they saw the vision that we had for the songs, and I think they did a perfect job, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Well, with Jeremy, you said that it took a lot less effort than you expected. Does that mean it will take a lot less effort for you guys to record a full album potentially?
Yeah, right.
Is that part of your plan?
I don't know if recording a full album would even be the best thing to do. I want to write more songs and I want to put them out, and maybe doing that in bite-sized pieces would be the best plan for us. But maybe we'll release enough music to do a full length one day, but maybe do it in 2 or 3 songs, single here and there, kind of intervals until we get enough music to do something like that. I feel like the attention span and engagement would be higher if we did something like that.
That's true.
Rather than maybe just doing a full length, but who knows, I guess we'll just have to see, what God wants of us, right now, I feel like we're all pretty much open to writing as many songs as we can and playing as many shows as we have time for, so.
Well, I'm open. I'm open to listening to as many songs as you guys want to write. So.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. That's great. One final question. What are you guys looking forward to most about getting back together as a band? I'd love to hear all of your individual answers to that question.
Zach first.
Zach first.
Yeah, did your microphone work, Zach?
Just kind of the butterflies, like initially, like right. I think me and Scott were talking about this, like as soon as you like get on the stage and you start, like you're nervous right up until like that first note, and like that's like once that part starts, like that's what I'm the most excited about. Like just kind of easing into the I guess the nostalgia of playing, of how it felt, to play 15 or so years ago.
You're on the clock.
I think for me is number one is special, especially being friends with these guys for so long. But music playing such a huge part of my life, and kind of from the last band that I played in, never knowing when it was going to end, and how much that meant to me and the scene and everything. Being able to do it one more time it's seriously like a dream come true, and I can't wait to be around everybody again. A lot older, so there might be some oxygen tanks and stretchers and knee braces this time. We're all trying to stretch, but I think just really giving this platform to do it one more time with my brothers it's very special to me. So,
absolutely.
I'm up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, just like I said, like even like going into Golgotha, I didn't feel like I had lyrics until we literally got in the studio. So I think it's a total God thing. Like I think God gave me those lyrics, and when they hit, like to still be relevant 15 years later and people want to hear them, I think that I know that's God thing, because that was me writing just myself. It probably wouldn't be that good. And I feel like the same thing with the 2 new songs that we have. I felt like those lyrics like literally just came to me in a moment, and I didn't really have anything completely written. And I just want to see that translate to a live show. I just love the energy of a crowd, and I want people chanting in gang vocals and stage and trying to head walk, and I want an ambulance at Fest. So all these people with these oxygen tanks taking away. It's gonna be a blast. So
that's awesome.
For me, probably being a part of some sort of ministry again. With Blood was the last ministry that I was a part of. And I work a regular job now, and do regular job stuff, and life is fairly normal. But God has blessed me; it's good. But I'm excited to be kind of doing something for Him, kind of stepping out there and putting myself out there again, and putting myself in an uncomfortable position sometimes for Him. I think that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most. Just being able to do that again.
Sweet. Mm-hmm. And Scott, finally.
I'm gonna pick 2 things. I'm gonna pick one thing.
Do it.
Seeing old faces, people I've forgotten. We'll get to see some just people I haven't seen or thought about in 15 years, or some of them longer than that. And being on stage and getting to worship Jesus and watch people worship Jesus with heavy music, because I haven't seen that in a long, long time. I mean, I get to go to church and be involved in music there, but there's something about throwing your fist down and stomping your feet to death metal and hardcore and a breakdown. That's you guys get it. It's different. Yeah. There's something there. There's a passion that's really fun to be a part of, and to look out from stage and see it happening is incredible. It really is. So that'll be a lot of fun.
That's so awesome.
Man. I just want to say, it's been really awesome to meet you guys and to really put faces to the names. And I just want to let you guys know that we'll be praying for you guys as you prep for this, because I think it would be really cool, the opportunity you guys have to play in front of so many people at Furnace Fest and that other show that you guys are doing. And just we'll be praying that God moves and uses you guys, and I think there'll be some awesome stuff ahead for you.
Amen. Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. This conversation's been a blast. We've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us.
I love you guys do, man.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And thank you for just kind of helping us get our pre-social media selves out there a little bit more. As
soon as you did, it was like, hey, they helped us out a ton. Man.
We we can't thank you enough for that, what you guys have done for us. You know what I mean? And that's really awesome. And I'm glad to have made some new friends. That's great. And let us know, if
absolutely.
you ever come down this way and, can come see us play. Always stay in touch with us, please.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm up in Indianapolis, so if you guys ever make it through the Midwest, I'd love to come out.
Cool.
Or we'll just see it
for
first.
you.
Yeah. Hopefully, God willing.
50-50 line.
Sean's gonna have to go purely for Haste today, and then everybody else is just the
You need a KingdomCore tent.
Icing on the cake.
That would be cool. Yeah, but then who's gonna watch the merch? If I'm at the tent watching, I can't go see the bands. Yeah. Bring my wife. Hey, honey, just stay here. Sell shirts.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Oh,
well,
man.
thank you guys so much.
Yeah, man.
Thank y'all.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of the KingdomCore podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you to the guys in With Blood Comes Cleansing for coming on, giving us your time, and sharing about this revival for the band. We are so stoked that these guys are back in the scene. Just in case anybody was confused about the conversation that happened, this episode was initially recorded May 15th, which was before their second single came out, which I actually had the honor of doing the artwork for. It was so cool to work with these guys and be a part of what they are doing. So go and check out both of their new singles, out now on Spotify, streaming, Apple Music, everywhere. Probably where you're listening to this podcast. You can go hear their new singles. Now, I want to give a special shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, including the lower tiers. I think you guys deserve a shout out. So we'll start with you guys, Logan Morehouse, Joel Holder, and William Fournier. You guys are awesome for being supporters as well at the $5 level. And then our $10 core givers, we got Anthony Kuchma, Aaron Peter, Daniel Harding, Fabian Richter, Frankie Blocker, and Steve Michalowski. And of course, our true fan supporters, the Dead Pedal Coffee Company. They've been supporting us ever since the beginning. Those guys are awesome. Go and check out their company if you are into coffee. Dead Pedal Coffee Company. As we kind of stated in our last episode with our news, Sean and I have both been dealing with new jobs and career paths, and it's taken a lot, and I've been working a lot. So that is why everything's a little bit delayed at the moment and not as much content coming out. But stay tuned. We got some more podcasts coming out throughout the summer. Hopefully not as few and far between, but with the way the schedule's going right now, that might be the case. So thank you all for listening and your continued support. Share this episode with a friend and go and check out the new music and old music from With Blood Comes Cleansing. All right, until next time, God bless, and we'll see you soon.